Well, the Bass Forecast app got me today. I was all set to go trout fishing, and last night email comes out and it says today is going to be probably the best bass fishing day of the year in my part of the country. So here I am. I'm driving back to my favorite smallmouth spot, and we're going to see if we can't have a epic day as the Bass Forecast app says. Fingers crossed. So I was just here like 3 days ago, and fishing was okay, but it's early. It's still technically winter, and so it's a little cooler. The river was up the last 2 days. It's back down to right about where it was 3 days ago, which is still elevated. We're just gonna take the hike, and we're gonna see if we can get on them. I'll see you on the water. So the water is at least a foot higher than it was a few days ago. It's running about the same speed. There's a branch or something right down sort of where I was fishing before, so I'm going to fish a little bit farther upstream here and just work down into that same hole. So it did not dawn on me at all until just now that I forgot my net. So it will just have to deal with it. This is going to be interesting. So today I'm just starting off with the tube again. I did remember to pick up this watermelon craw. It looks a little bit more coppery color, and so it looked like it might match the crawfish that we saw them eating yesterday. And I just started right off with a little bit of Procure as well, and I've got it rigged up on an Owner Phantom tube hook. So I'll find the package and show you that later. For now, let's just get out here and try to catch a fish. So I don't know if the water being up is going to push the fish in more. Really how it's going to affect this at all. Now, I haven't had enough experience with following the Lunar tables where it gives you the major bite windows and the minor bite windows and all that stuff. But I have been doing more research over the winter. Focusing on those bite windows supposedly does increase your chances from guys who have caught a ton of big bass, but also focusing around the times when there's, within a few days either side of a new moon or a full moon. And honestly, that's what we have right now. There's a new moon, I think, in 2 days. And that's part of what the Bass Forecast app bases their data on. So anyway, we're coming up about half an hour. We're here half an hour before like a major bite window. Looks like I want to back the brakes down just a hair on this. He's still there. Got it. I don't know how good of a hook set I got because I felt like I kind of missed it at first. Where is it? Where is it? What do we got? It's a smaller one, but it's a fish. Like cast number 4 or 5, I think. Let's see if standing out on this little point looking thing can. Oh, there we go. Fish number 1. Ooh. See, oh man, are they cold? That was the same kind of bite that I had a few days ago. Just it's a little muddy. Nothing I can do about it. That's a little guy. That's the smallest one I've caught here this year. I don't know how often we should put this stuff on. That was like 4 or 5 casts. Feels like there's still a little bit on there. Oh. Let's get down here where you can see it. Feels like there's still a little bit on there, but it seems to be making a difference, so I'm going to keep using it. Essentially what I'm doing is, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little current seam. So you have the slack water here, and then there's a current seam, and I'm casting out far enough so it seems like the bait is working the current seam, and that's the natural place that the aggressive fish would be sitting. Just kind of surprised I haven't had any bites in the slack water though. So that maybe that just means that they're really in a feeding mode. Okay, so while I did catch a fish on a tube in the first half hour, you know, we're coming into the beginning of that bite window, and honestly, a few days ago, I caught my biggest fish on the Nico Helgramite Black Aurora. The only reason I went away from it is I couldn't keep it from getting snagged. I just kept getting hung up. So I brought a couple different jig heads today. This is, I believe this is a VMC football Ned, and it's an EWG, allows it to be more weedless. So we're gonna throw this out here for a little while and see if we can't get them turned on. Might have felt something there. There was definitely something, but I don't think it was a fish. I think I had a leaf or something. It's part of what I love about these Kistler rods, man. They're just so sensitive. The thing about fishing these kind of baits, they just take, you know, it's slow to work them. At least on days like today. And on bodies of water this size, fishing the creek, it doesn't take too much to work a hole a few times, but I basically just keep slowly working it in, dragging it over rocks until I get fairly close. Current doesn't put any more resistance on the line, and I don't feel any more rocks. It like gets to be a little bit more of a muddy bottom. Give this one or two more casts, go back to a tube. These are the hooks that I'm using. Because I'm using the smaller tubes, this 1/0 hook and the 1/16 ounce seems to work well. I've also got them in 3/0 hooks, which is where I started. It would work better with a larger tube. So I've also got the Power Bait Max Scent tubes, which are supposed to be really good. So I got smoke with silver or green pumpkin. The green pumpkin's in a 3-inch. So let's try a bigger one. Let's see how that does. And because these are already scented, I'm not going to add more. Just going to use them as is. This is another one I bought last year. You see I haven't even opened this pack. I bought these last year because everybody says they're like Smalley candy and you can't resist them. And I'll tell you what, it's like child-proof tamper-resistant packaging too. Also forgot my knife apparently. Come on, let me in. And the way you rig these is you basically run it all the way up through the point of the tube. Right, you got this little weight in here. Get it lined up. And then you bring it out the top just until the hook is there. And then basically line this puppy up, get it nice and straight. This is the downside of the tubes, is you have to tie them on afterwards. So if you want to change a lure or something like that, change a color, fish tears it up, you're cutting it off and putting a new one on. Ooh, that was close to hitting that tree branch. So I'm already not getting bit on this Berkley tube. So let's throw some of the Procure on there. Oh, might have my first snag on a tube of the day, or of the week, or actually of the year. This is my normal experience with fishing tubes though. This is probably partly a confidence thing and partly a patience thing. My wife will tell you I'm not always the most patient person, but you know, it's taking like 3, 4, 5 minutes a cast on the tube and I'm just not getting much action. So I just broke one off. I'm going to switch over to that Berkley Money Badger crankbait. I've been wanting to try it on this river. I don't know, but they should be in an aggressive feeding pattern, and so I'm going to try it for a little while, and then I'll just go back to that copper-colored Bitsy Tube and finish out my time here. I've still got an hour and a half before I wanted to leave, but I've had 0 bites in the first 25% of this prime bite window. So let's see if maybe they're hitting something a little bit more aggressive. So this thing is definitely digging into the bottom. So much so that I have to. So this might only be like 4 feet deep out there. I think this runs like 5 to 7. And I'm very quickly getting down to touching bottom. So I'm running it with the rod tip up to try to cut down on the running depth. But I can just feel it just popping all along the bottom. Okay. Back to the Bitsy Tube, this time in black. Keeping this shut and actually. Well, clouds are starting to roll in a little bit. We were expecting some rain later on. Another reason I thought it might be a good day of fishing. I think I started this video saying the Bass Forecast app got me again. And that's really the case, honestly, because I pay attention to it just to sort of learn, like, well, is it any good? But I can't recall a day where it said it was supposed to be great or epic fishing that I went out because the app said, you know, because the forecast from Bass Forecast said, hey, you should go fishing right now. Like, it's going to be an epic day. You know, honestly, most of them are usually borderline worst. And I don't know if that's because I'm, you know, entirely a finesse guy or almost entirely a finesse guy. But I don't feel like getting caught in the rain here in these low 50-degree temps. I am a little chilly just because it's been windy and there's been not much action. This is a short video, but I have been fishing for 2 hours at this point. So I've had 1 bite. Caught that fish. Hey, but you know, this is fishing, right? You know, what's the old saying? That's why they call it fishing, not catching. So I am going to pack up. I'm going to start heading down. There is another spot where I've caught some fish. It's real close to the parking area, like within 5-minute walk. So often there's somebody there. It gets fished pretty heavy. But if the weather's holding up and I get to that spot in the next, it'll be like a little over half hour. I'll make a few casts there just to see if we can't catch a few more. Got everything packed up, getting ready to walk out, and there's my camera. I am forgetful. Kind of looking at this stream like, where in the heck did I come across? Wish me luck here. Made it. Oh, there we go. About due for a new pair of waterproof boots though, that's for sure. I was hoping to film a little bonus content for all you diehards that stay late. You know, here's the thing. It's not like I just, on the spur of a moment, go fishing these days. The trip that I was going to do today has been on the calendar for probably 3 or 4 weeks. It's one of my favorite trout streams. Probably one of my top 2. The possibility of getting into, you know, a handful of 18-inch plus smallmouth on, you know, arguably one of my favorite smallmouth rivers that trumps catching predominantly stocked trout, even if they're 16 to 20 inches. You know, and so where I live, there's not a lot of wild trout to begin with. So even in this stream that I'm going to go to probably next week, you know, we get some nice holdovers in there, and there are some good quality fish. I don't know, there's something about the smallmouth that just, it makes me late for dinner. It makes me blow off work when I used to do that. Even these days, I still, there's work in building a, you know, fishing content creation business. And if I got a chance to maybe catch some nice smallies, that's coming first. And even though I get out 75 plus days a year fishing, every day, every time I go out, I have these hopes that it is an epic day. And unfortunately today was not one of those days. So appreciate watching. At least we caught one on the tube. And we're going to keep figuring out the tube approach. It's supposed to work year-round for smallmouth. And so far, on my first 2 days of catching fish with it, finally, like, you just got to wait forever. So far, they're not hitting it aggressively. Again, thanks for watching. See you next time. Maybe on a trout stream. Somewhere up in those trees is some pileated woodpeckers. Let this run for a second, see if we can hear them. There's a handful of them in there. Probably not going to catch a glimpse of them. They're pretty secretive, but they're giant woodpeckers. They kind of sound like the Amazon jungle.